copy if we're ready to go. Hi, everybody. I am sorry that I can't see you. It was lovely to hear your chatter before. And just before I launch into this, a bit of housekeeping. Because I can't see you, I don't know if you're laughing or giggling or putting your hand up or anything like that. So I will just keep talking. So if you guys make a lot of noise over the top of me, I'm not going to know and you're going to miss some stuff. So I know it's annoying, but if you can just sit tight and try not to make too much noise. And if you've got questions, write them down. There's going to be a chance to ask them at the end. And your teacher is going to chime in if she needs me to stop at any point. Please let me know if I've been going too fast. It is my inclination to talk fast, but I will try to go a bit slower. Now, you've had a very quick introduction, but I'll do it again. My name's Lacey. And that surname, if you're wondering, is Slovenian. My husband is half Slovenian. And don't worry, there's not a test later for how you pronounce that. And I'm an entrepreneur. You might not have heard that phrase before, or that name before, but maybe you have. And there's a technical definition for an entrepreneur. And it's along the lines of taking risk for reward and using capital. But I like to think of entrepreneurs as problem solvers. And in that way, they've got a lot in common with scientists and mathematicians and engineers. And I can say that because I'm also a chemical engineer. That's what my first career was. And so I'm one of those examples when you hear about portfolio careers or non-linear careers, you'll hear about those as you get a bit further through school. I'm a great example of that. Someone who started out their life as a chemical engineer. And now I'm an entrepreneur and I own 2 businesses and I teach kids about business. And that's why I'm here talking to you today. You guys are about to have a pretty exciting adventure. You're going to be doing Make a Kids Club, which is my program that's going to help you launch your own micro businesses. Now, I thought back about this when I started doing this program and I hadn't realized I actually started my first business when I was 10 years old. And the experience that I had was really fascinating. Taught me a lot about what I liked and didn't like about work, but it also taught me about how to earn money. And that's one of the great things about this program. You're going to learn about the ways people earn money. You're going to learn about how to handle it. You're also going to be focused, and this is the main part of the program, on how to solve a problem. You're going to pick the problem you're going to solve. You're going to come up with an idea. It could be a product or a service, and you're going to create a business. And out of that, you're then going to sell that product or service to your school community. So that's what you're going to be doing over the next few weeks. Well, several weeks, actually, term and a bit. And you're going to see a lot of my talking head because all the content that you're going to be covering is me on videos, just like this one saying, hi, Make a Kids. And I also say hi, parents in there because we find lots of parents get excited about being involved in this as well. And you guys might need some support as well. So if you've got your parents at home and they're keen to get involved in this, then they are most welcome to watch the videos too. What you're going to be doing, as I said, is coming up with this business idea. And I'm not going to go through the content of the course now because you're going to cover that one lesson a week, I think will be the plan. But they're basically sequential lessons. So you can do a couple in a week if need be. But the idea is you'll do one a week. And as you go through, you'll slowly build up this business. And it's really important that you do it slowly and that you do it in order. And I'll tell you why. The number one mistake that I see people in business make, and this is all sorts of people in business. It's people in big businesses, little businesses, new entrepreneurs, people who are really experienced. They fall in love with an idea. They come up with their Flugelmeister, whatever it is, something fantastic. They come up with this Flugelmeister. Oh my gosh, it's going to solve all the problems. People are going to want to buy it. And the first thing they do is make 100 Flugelmeisters. And then they go out and try and sell it. And they find nobody wants Flugelmeisters. It's very inconvenient. And a lot of people have lost a lot of money, wasted a lot of time because they fall in love with an idea at the beginning and they don't test it properly. So my one piece of advice for you is to work through the process that you're going to be following and try not to skip any of the steps. Because if you pick an idea right now, and I bet you there's a few people in the room thinking, oh, I'd really love to make something specific. Please try not to fall in love with that idea just yet. Please try to resist it. And make sure you go through that process and do the testing that you're going to do. In the first 4 weeks, you're going to come up with a bunch of ideas, not just one. Come up with 50 if you can. And then you're going to test those ideas and rank them and see which ones you think are most likely to succeed. And then once you've got an idea, you're going to create a prototype, just one, not 100. And you're going to go and test that with your customers and ask them to buy, not would you buy, because everybody wants to be nice to you and they'll say, yeah, of course I'd buy that. But you're actually going to ask them to part with cash. You're not going to take the cash, but you're going to ask them to part with it. And if they say, yeah, sure, I'd buy it, then you know you've got a product or service that's going to work potentially. And then once you've got that confirmation, then you can go on to building the business. You can do the business plan and the marketing plan and the financial plan. You can set up your shop and you can launch. But if you don't do that first bit, you risk wasting a lot of time later. And hey, it might pay off. You might be right. Maybe Flugelmeisters are the things that everybody wants and needs, and they're willing to pay the price that you set. But it's not guaranteed. And what we want to do is reduce our risk. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to do this program, as I said, with my talking head. So you're going to be sent a link, which is going to go to you and your parents to register, and then you'll have access to an online portal. Now, when you're in class together like this, you're just going to watch the video together. But if you want to watch it later at home with mum and dad, or maybe you missed something and you want to catch up during a break or after school or on the weekend, you are welcome to go in and watch the videos again and refresh yourself and see what's happening. What I want you to think about is, hey, mum and dad, what expertise can you draw on? Your mums and dads probably work in business in some way, or they have at some point in their career. Maybe not, but a lot of them will have. You've got a wonderful resource sitting in your house who you can ask questions of and ask for help. And this is the kind of thing we find a lot of parents get excited about being involved in. So don't be afraid to draw them into the conversation as well. The other thing I really want you guys to think about is we're in some really uncertain times. I'm sure you've been talked to a lot about washing your hands and what's the impact of social distancing and things like that. And it's quite scary, I think, for a lot of us. But an entrepreneur will see this as an opportunity. We've got an opportunity to solve problems that have never existed before, that weren't a problem 2 weeks ago. And people haven't solved those problems yet. There's things that we need that we're not getting quickly enough, things like hand sanitizer. I would like a nice, pretty face mask to wear. There might be some services that we need, some extra errands that need to be run for people because they can't leave their homes. Maybe they need some gardening. My neighbour, who's 90 years old, would like someone to walk her letters from her house down to the post box so she can stay inside. There might be some other fantastic ideas that you can come up with in this changing environment, and it is an opportunity to create value, to help people, to alleviate some of these problems and really make a difference in the world. So I want you to think about that when you're thinking about your businesses, particularly with your brainstorming. This is a different time. This is new. I bet you guys are going to have some fantastic ideas. I've got a little bit of show and tell for you to give you some inspiration. These are dog biscuits. Don't know if you can see them there. Now, you might think dog biscuits, not much you can innovate on those, but these ones are a bit special. These ones have got in them something called activated charcoal. And the theory is that it stops your dog from farting. Very interesting. They've also got a little hole in the middle. I don't know if you can see that there. Hopefully you can. And it's designed for people to be able to put pills in there. So let's say you've got a dog that's a struggle to feed and you can't get them to take their pill, which I think anyone who's had a pet before and they have to give medicine, that can be really annoying. So this particular idea has taken an existing thing. It's an existing dog biscuit, but adapted it. There are ideas like that everywhere. What's something that you use that you've seen before that you could improve on? You know, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be amazing. Something as simple as a couple of dog biscuits can do. There is options for things like taking existing products, and this is a great one for anyone who's concerned with waste. If you're worried about, there's lots of waste in the world, say like clothing waste, you could be upcycling it like this. This was a shirt that one of our kidpreneurs got from the op shop and managed to use bleach to make patterns with. So, and he sells them for about $10 a piece, which considering it cost him under $1 to buy the shirt, it's pretty good. And bleach isn't that expensive. So ideas like that for reusing things and recycling things and finding old stuff and repurposing it is an option. It's really limitless. I'm not going to plant too many more seeds about ideas. I just wanted to give you a couple of examples, but I encourage you in the next couple of weeks to use your imaginations. What problems are you going to find? What can you see needs help, and focus on that. You're going to learn a little bit more about that in this lesson coming up. You're going to go into a bit of a deep dive and you spend some time brainstorming. Now, I've mentioned don't commit to your idea. The other thing that gets asked is a couple of points. One is, can you work together? Now, I've talked to your teachers, and yes, you are allowed to form pairs or up to a group of 3. Now, the reason why I recommend limiting it to no more than 3 is it just gets a bit unwieldy. Too many people to try and make a product or a service. What I will say though is, don't pair up with someone and think you're going to make 2 separate products. So you're not going to have, hey, you do lip balm and I'll do hair ties and we'll just be on the same stall. If you decide to work in a group, you need to work on the one idea together. Now, the important part about that is picking someone with reciprocal and complementary skills. You'll hear a little bit more about that in this lesson when you have the discussion after the video. The other thing that's a bit different for you guys is, of course, a market. In the past, most schools would have a big market. They would have stalls set out, maybe at a lunchtime or at an assembly or something like that, and all the other school community members would come along, parents and other teachers and other students, and that's when you would sell your products or services. And that's a really great environment because it's at the school and it's small and you get to set it up. But of course, we are not likely to be having many markets in the next few months, and we don't know what it's going to be like. We don't know what our lives are going to change in the next 6 months. So rather than planning on trying to have a launch market in person later, and maybe you will, maybe you'll do this later, what we're going to plan for this particular run of it, when you get to week 10, which is when you launch your product, you'll do it via an online market. And I'm working on the prototype for that now. I'll be testing it with your teachers next week, seeing if we think it works, trying to make sure that it's really safe for you guys to use. And then that will be the process by which you launch. But when you're thinking about what you're making, you can still make any kind of physical product that you want to sell and distribute. We'll be able to come up with a way for you to give it to people via the school somehow, even if you don't end up having a market stall. So don't let that limit your imagination. Now, the other thing that's really important is no food businesses. Now, there's a really good monetary reason for this. If you want to sell food and you're going to keep the profits from the food and you're selling to the public, your kitchen needs to be inspected and licensed in wherever you're based. And that can be $160+. It depends on which jurisdiction you're in. You have to have a certified kitchen to make sure that you're doing the right hygiene stuff. You're wearing gloves and you've sanitized the surfaces and everything's been treated properly, and that you're not accidentally spitting in the food or anything like that. So it's quite expensive, but it also means it's a bit risky because there's a chance maybe, mum and dad have accidentally touched something, or your little brother's come in and poked his finger in the flour or the cookies or whatever. So in this case, you're not going to be able to make food businesses. So please, when you're brainstorming, don't brainstorm food businesses because you won't be allowed to do them. I think that's all the main tips that I was going to go through as your intro, as a bit of a setup. As I said, you're going to be watching these videos, and while you're in the classroom together, you'll be watching them together, but you can watch them again later once you've registered online, and your teachers will send you the link that you can use. And you can ask your parents if they want to register on your behalf, or if you want to register using your school email, whatever is instructed in the communication that comes out from your teachers, that's what you'll do. Just make sure that you make sure it's your name that you use, because I check it off against a list and I only approve people whose names come through and match the student name. Don't mind what email gets used, but it's got to be your name, okay, so that I know that it's you. If you have questions as you work through this program, your teachers will be the first people you ask. So ask them first, but if they get stuck and they don't know the answer, I'm around all the time. You can send an email, I can jump on a call with you. If you find you get stuck with something and you're wondering what you might get stuck with, or you don't know how to deal with it, then I'm here to help. Having been through this a few times, I started my first business when I was 10 and I now run 2 businesses. If I don't know the answer, I can find someone who does. So don't panic if you get stuck. Just remember to put your hand up and ask for help. I am so excited to see what you guys come up with. I think this time is an amazing time for entrepreneurs, and you guys are going to be entrepreneurs. You're going to, at the end of this, have launched a business, and I cannot wait to see what problems you solve. Okay, that's it for my talk. I will now hand back to your teacher. Please tell me if we have any specific questions I can answer.